Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we're talking about the ban list for Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and more specifically, with the Duelist Cup having resolved in October. This is around the time where a ban list for basically post-Duelist Cup would arrive. And yeah, we're just going to quickly go through my thoughts on what could potentially be hit, and yeah, that's basically it. These are the things, these are more predictions than necessarily wish list or anything like that. Now granted, what I've noticed is that Konami tends to hit few things, but there's a wide range of things that they could potentially hit. So, yeah, keep that in mind with this ban list. Again, it's kind of just me throwing stuff at the wall and being like, yeah, maybe they hit this, maybe they hit that. But we're going to start off here with banned cards, and there's literally one card I think that they could potentially ban. I don't even know if this is necessarily going to be banned, but Eradicator Epidemic Virus. The reason for this is because even at 1, which is what most people were playing it at anyway, in Labyrinth you could still access it, so if anything, this would probably be the ban. Do I see this likely happening? No, not necessarily, but it is like the only ban card, or card that I would expect to be banned, right? So, I can't really think of anything else that actually would go from, well, from currently unbanned to not able to be played. So, there's that. Let's hop into the limited cards. Now here's where I throw a whole bunch of shit at the wall. So first and foremost, let's talk about the things that would most likely not actually happen. They're not going to hit multiple of the Labyrinth cards, but I do expect them to hit at least one of them. More specifically, I'm not expecting things like Welcome or Big Welcome to be limited. I do expect Chandelier, Stovitory, or Coup Clock, most likely Coup Clock, I would imagine, to be limited. There's no shot they ban it, but I do expect this to be, like, limited, to basically be a slap on the wrist, because they're probably going to be releasing a new card for Labyrinth, and they don't really want to actually incentivize you to not play Labyrinth. They want to incentivize you to, instead of using Coup Clock, to use the other card. That's going to be the idea, and I would imagine this is probably what they do with it. Next up, Dragon Link. Either Wyver Burster or Collapse Serpent. I'm not expecting both, and maybe Chaos Space would also be limited. Those are the only things I could realistically see being limited. They're SRs, so that's why I would more likely expect only one of them to be hit, and not multiple. Gamma. Konami hates Gamma. I would expect this to go to 1. It's at 1 in the TCG for reasons. It's at 1 in the OCG for reasons. It's at 2 in Master Duel. It could go to 1 at any point, basically. Do I think it's all that great? No, not particularly. But I do expect it to happen. Other things like draw cards or what have you for stun, things like Card of Demise, Card of Duality, Runic Fountain, even Inspector Border. Some of these could get hit. I'm more expecting these. I would be more surprised if Runic Fountain went to 1, even though it's at 1 in the OCG and Runic has been heavily nerfed in Master Duel. I don't actually expect Runic Fountain in particular to be hit. And again, this is mostly because it's a UR. It's already at 2. If they're going to hit something from Runic, it's probably not going to be Fountain. It's probably going to be other such stun cards like Card of Demise and Card of Duality. However, Inspector Border is definitely on the chopping block. Stun was pretty prevalent, and has been pretty prevalent post-Duelist Cup, and this is the poster child of Stun. So I do expect that to be limited. Next up, Mathmech. Diameter's on here because it's a rare. Diameter shouldn't be limited. The only thing that should be limited is Mathmech Circular. Are they going to do that? Maybe not, but I don't really see it going to 2. If they are going to hit it, it's going to go to 1. That's just my expectation. It's at 1 in the OCG. It's at 1 in Master Duel. Or not in Master Duel. In the TCG. I don't really see them putting it from 3 to 2. I expect it to just drop to 1. Because they're like, okay, either Mathmech is a problem or it's not. They're either going to hit it or they're going to put it... they're either going to put it to 1 or they're not going to hit it. Dimension Shifter going to 1 makes sense. No one likes, it's a floodgate that you can play from your hand. It's not very interactive. It probably goes to 1 just to limit its consistency. They're not going to ban it just from 2 to 1. It's a UR, not going to be limited or banned. Same with Fenris. Fenris is a big problematic card for a lot of decks, or more specifically, that a lot of decks can play. So there you go. Also, again, a UR. Red Reboot is an insanely good card right now because Labyrinth is good. However, It's just a good card. I don't know why this card is at more than 1. In fact, I don't know why this card is at more than 0. This card should absolutely be banned. However, with that being said, I know a lot of people will say, no, yada yada, and argue for its continued stay. But the thing is, I do think that this card in particular, showing up more often, probably isn't what Konami wanted, because I think they put it from 1 to 2, and then it popped up a whole bunch, and now I think if they put it back to 1, they're like, okay, cool, people won't just play it to automatically win games. Because yeah, that's exactly what it does. Speaking of automatic win games, Anti-Spell and There Can Be Only One are like the only 2 good floodgates that are, more specifically, continuous trap floodgates, that are still around, so I would expect these 2 to be on the chopping block as well. And then the last one of note is Elf. Sprite did really well. I guess you could argue Blue should also be limited, but I do expect Elf is probably on the chopping block more so than Blue if Sprite is going to be hit. And yes, Elf should be banned, but they're not going to do that because it's a UR and they probably just want people to not get as much out of it. So of course they're going to go for the limitation instead. So there's that. Next up, we have Glow Up Bulb going from banned to off of the ban list. This is kind of the only thing that I realistically saw that could come off of the ban list at the current moment that isn't already. Yes, I do expect Kieran to come off of the ban list at some point, but I don't expect it right now. Kieran could absolutely go to 3 and it'd be fine, but Konami hates pendulums and are scared of what Kieran can do with Electromite. I really do think that they are afraid of Kieran, so that card's probably going to remain banned, and I don't realistically see it coming off of the list. But that's it for the limited cards. Let's move on to semi-limited. Sorry, I literally forgot about Delicious Memory. Yeah, Pearly is the best deck. I do expect Delicious Memory to go to 1. This is probably the most certain thing that is going to happen. It's a rare. It was probably made to be a rare to be limited, because there's no shot Delicious Memory, one of the best of the Pearly cards, was not created to be a UR unless they knew that they weren't going to hit, or they were going to hit it in the future. So of course, this one is most likely to be a limited card. It's not going to be banned, but limited probably. Alright, now for the semi-limited. However, do keep in mind with this ban list that I'm talking about, not all of these hits are going to happen or are things that I expect to happen. More of this, a lot of this is just like, here are some things, I don't know exactly what, but here are some things from that deck that could potentially be hit. And here we see a whole bunch of Pearly cards. The OCG loves limiting cards or semi-limiting cards within a deck to hit consistency. So here are just a bunch of them, a bunch of the Pearly cards that I expect to be limited. Pearly is far and away the best deck. It is very clear that that was the best deck, especially even in the Duelist Cup, seeing how many of those were Pearlies. I do expect that to be, or how many of those in the top 100 were Pearly. I do expect something else alongside that Delicious hit to be on here. Is it Happy Memory? Is it Pretty Memory? Is it Pearly? Is it Pearly? I don't know. It's not going to be Sleepy. It's not going to be Stray Street. It's not going to be Yeep. It might be Yeep. Who knows? But Yeep would be silly. So, yeah. It's probably going to be... I would say it's probably going to be one of the monsters rather than one of the quick plays. But that's just my hunch. Yatagarasu was at... I think just came off of the list like 1 or 2 ban lists ago. So this is pretty much just, yeah, we're going to put it to 2. It hasn't done anything. It can go to 2. It could probably go to 3, but they're going to put it to 2 as kind of like a waiting zone. And then Herald of Orange Light has been limited to 1 for quite some time. However, it was limited to 1 because of Ishizu tier, and like all of the good Ishizu cards that could be paired with this are banned. So there's that. And then, instead of hitting something like Fenris, I could see Unicorn going to 2, which is possible. I don't know why we would do this, because Keshtira is not all that great, but maybe if you're hitting other cards and other decks around this archetype, maybe they're like, cool, let's hit the Keshtira as well. And then, Bestial Lubellion is on here for Dragon Link. It's a UR, it's not going to go from 3 to 1, especially because people do have 3 copies of it, unlike something like Elf, which most people would probably only have 2 copies of in their collection. So that's why. That's basically it. And the last thing is Unlimits. And pick 2. There's probably going to be 2 of these that come off of the list. I don't expect Change of Heart or Mask Change, really. These are probably the 2 that are most likely to not come off of the list. I'm expecting things like Conquistador and probably Longwan, because Konami hates Cobalt Sparrow. I don't know why. I know Fractal literally just came off of the list and was now, or is now at 3, but the thing is, I still think that they're going to be like, I don't like Cobalt Sparrow, not that one. So I expect Longwan as well as Conquistador to come off of the list. Maybe you could say that Fusion Destiny might come off of the list as well, and honestly, you'd probably be correct, but realistically, I don't see a whole lot coming off of the list. So, there's that. Yeah, that's basically it for the ban list. Again, most of it is like, Pearly is probably going to get hit. There will be maybe some light hits to Labyrinth, and maybe something will happen with Mathmech, but probably not. Those are the 3 best decks, and then after that, it's not really all that big of a deal, unless like they start prepping to hit Maxi by banning things like Galaxy Tomahawk or Aurora Dawn, or some of the more like crazy combo stuff like they had it done in the past. However, I'm not expecting that because Konami loves Maxi for some reason I genuinely don't know, but there you go. That's it for this episode. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, a like is very much appreciated. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.